You're listening to Mystic Scribe podcast, where the page meets the mystic and the muse never sleeps. Today's show is Being a Writer, a journey through story, structure, spirit, and self. The journey of a writer. I'm Mystic, you can call me Angel. Let's talk craft, chaos, and the joy of creating. Thanks for stopping by. Hello there, beautiful soul. My dear friends, welcome to Mystic Scribe podcast. I'm Mystic and you are here. Today's episode is one of being a writer. And I know I've been away for a minute. I've got caught up in a couple of projects that had me completely subdued and unavailable. So I apologize for that, but I am back tonight. And I am going to talk about a subject that's been coming up for me a lot lately. And that is about being what I call a creative entrepreneur, a creative professional. And I bring this up because I've been working on some projects that have me engaged with professionals, other writers, other artists, other musicians. And I've been hearing a lot of things like, I'm just too creative to think like a professional, or my brain just doesn't work like that. I'm an artist. I can't be structured, or I'm all over the place. It's hard for me to focus. I'm a creative. I'm an artist. And so look, listen, I get it. I really do. And before I move on, I want to say that it's summertime and it's beautiful where I live, and we have a pool and there's kids all over the place. So I've done all my due diligence to hopefully dampen the noises, but you might hear some kids playing in the background, and I'm not mad at the kids. They need to play, so be patient and allow the kids to play. So let's get back into it. The truth is, where the industry is today, the evolution of where we are today in the industry, whether it's entertainment or high tech, as an artist, whether you're writing or you're building websites or you're creating sounds and music for background and for films, you are a business person. Unless you have a gig where you're working on staff at a company, most writers and artists work independently, which means that you are a business person. So, as I said, the truth here is you can be creative and be professional, right? There's no rule that says, oh, you have a creative process, you are a creative person, so only the creative part of your mind functions effectively, the business part is a struggle. No, you can be artistic and build systems. You can be emotional and strategic. You can be a dreamer and still run your dream like a business. So like I said, that's not a contradiction. That's the new evolution of our industry. Creatives are just as engaged in the channels as every other professional that's out there contracting and helping organizations build strategic structure. So I want to tap into a couple of different areas to help demystify this, because I felt like this was something really important to talk about. But before I do that, I want to give you an opportunity to think about what you want, as we go through this together. If you're an artist listening to me, are you a writer? I'm a writer. I invite you to take a moment to acknowledge to yourself that you are a creative person that wants to be successful in your line of business. You don't have to be in poverty. You don't have to be someone who's struggling all the time making ends meet. You can be successful as a creative. You don't have to work yourself until you're ragged to be that successful creative, okay? So let's talk about the myth of the scattered creative. So people love to say creatives are scattered, messy, disorganized, that we can't focus, that we're allergic to structure. And for a long time, I believed that too. I believed that in order for my creative circuits to thrive, my logic circuits needed to be turned off, right? And I used it as a reason to procrastinate, to delay, to hide, to avoid building something real with structure, because I felt like I was giving into the mainstream. As an artist, we get accused of selling out. If I turn my back on my creativity to become this business savvy professional, I'm losing the sauce, the delicious sauce that sits on top of my creativity. I'm giving that up to be structured. And I have to tell you something. I do have a doctorate. My doctorate is in a nerdy, geeky business process. So, I have some business structure in my process that I apply very well. I'm very successful as a business person, but I still separated that from my creativity because that's the myth, right? Here's what I learned. This is not a personality trait. This is not a narrative. We've been told we're too sensitive as creatives. We're too out there. You're missing it. You're missing all the action. I got the finger quote, the air quotes going on all over the place. The reality is we're navigating multiple worlds, right? We're building stories while juggling survival. We're pouring from our soul and then expected to promote it, protect it, and profit from it all at the same time. You know what? Man, that's a lot. That is a lot. And of course, our minds are always moving fast. And this is something that really sits for me as I talk to my fellow creatives. And I hear this all the time. I don't just write. I serve in capacity as a leader in the creative world. And as I sit and coach and support and help develop other creatives, I hear almost every day, my mind works different. I'm really sensitive. I'm different from everybody else. And I don't want to discount that feeling that you have, because quite frankly, I have it too. I feel that all the time. I am so sensitive. You cannot be unsensitive if your craft is based on your deep soul craft, your soul talent, your soul gift, writer, singer, songwriter, artist, actor. If that is who you are, my friend, you are sensitive. And we are all sensitive. So you're no different from anybody else. Don't let people tell you you're different. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Of course, you're special, and you're different and special in your talent and how it presents. Take the positive areas that you're different in, but don't look in the mirror and make the creative spark about you something wrong with you, because there's nothing wrong with you. Okay? As a creative entrepreneur, you can lead, you can evolve, you can organize, you can structure. You're no different from any other person that's walking around in the business world. So when I say it's a myth, I mean that it's a myth, and it's declassified. It's completely demolished. It is busted. So you might have to work harder. You don't even want to know what I do in my day to get myself organized, sitting down, my things to do list, going through, looking at what I didn't finish yesterday to make sure I get to it, and planning tomorrow. I am a Franklin Covey girl. So I have been trained to organize my day for decades, and I still manage my processes in that same way. So it's like a muscle. You might need some time, you might need some skills, you might need some tools, but you have to hold yourself accountable. You have to do all those things that the normies do, because I'm not a normie, I'm a creative. So I always say the normies, you have to do the things that the normies do to organize themselves. You have to do it too. And if you're a person that needs reminders, give yourself reminders. Give yourself the grace to have the tools that you need to be successful. I use sticky notes. I write notes to myself and put it on the keyboard and close my laptop. So when I open my laptop in the morning, I see what it is I'm supposed to do so that I don't forget. Because I give myself the grace to accepting that. Although I know there's a lot that I need to do, that there are times when I get distracted because all of a sudden the idea pops in, right? Oh gosh, we get that, right? You're working on a thing, you're working on a story, you're working on a character, you're working on an article, you're working on a drawing, whatever your creative process is, you're working on it. And then the idea comes for the other thing in your mind. Oh, wouldn't it be cool if that character was wearing a red hat? Oh, speaking of a red hat, what if the car the other guy was driving was red? Oh man, I should write a story about a car. And now you're thinking about the car and you're completely distracted from what it was that you were supposed to be doing. Let me tell you something. That happens to everybody. Anybody who tells you that doesn't happen to them is not being completely honest with you. Because my friend, that's how the human brain operates. Some people are just better managing the noise than others. And if you are a creative, you manage the noise different because it's the noise that makes you creative. So I'm a writer. When I write my stories, I see them in my brain like a movie from start to finish. I don't think of a story and they're like, oh, there's that guy sitting over there. Oh man, what if he was fishing? Okay, so now he's fishing, but what if the fish could talk? Okay, now the talking fish. I don't see stories like that. They come to me like I'm sitting in a movie theater watching them from start to finish, every little detail. So now I got to sit down and suss all that information out so that I can write the story. It might take me 15 minutes. It might take me 15 days. It might take me 15 years, but that's how my stories, my ideas birth inside my creative brain. Having said that, as I'm writing my story about the guy who's fishing and the fish is talking and I'm writing it out, then the red car might come in and says, hey, beep, beep, don't forget about me. And now I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, the car. But what if that car was in the desert and the car broke down and now the girl's by herself? So the other story, now the movie is on with the other story. So how the heck do I finish this story when I got another movie playing inside my head? I have to stop the movie and sit down and do some organization processes or do some sort of a reset process to get myself back to being focused. And if it's too much, if I'm being overwhelmed by complete overload of information, and when you get in those creative spurts, which I'll talk about here in a little while, you get in those creative spurts, that can happen. You'll get the overload of information, and now I have to do something to turn the noise down. And for me, it's meditation. So I meditate. I don't know what you do for your own process, but I meditate. So we'll talk about some of that stuff here in a little bit as well. So I said I broke this up into little pieces. So I'm going to talk about the creative entrepreneur a little bit more here to give you a little more information about what I'm talking about, what I mean when I say that, and why I say that this is now where we are in the industry. We have never been in a place where independent media was so rampant in society. It's not just about independent filmmakers. We have independent media production houses. We have streaming services all over the place. We have people publishing, streaming houses publishing on YouTube. We have pocket novels that do short clip novellas where people can watch, so they need writers for that. People can self-publish now with ease on Amazon and other platforms. There is content creation up the wazoo with people needing writers for their podcasts and their YouTube channels. Then there's the whole process of developing an IP. The culture of the pitch is strong because of all the need for new stories. The day of just being a writer where you get your degree and just go and apply to be a staff writer someplace, it's not as simple as it was. And there are so many writers out there. hustling and trying to get gigs and trying to sell scripts and trying to become part of writing teams. So for the writer, which is who I can speak to because that's what I am, for the writer, it's much more interesting. And it's not a bad thing, where somebody could literally start a business online as a writer and not have to engage anyone if they so chose to. They could write for a podcast. They could start their own podcast. There's so much that you can do, but to do it, you got to know what you want to do and how to go get it, right? So we're not waiting for permission anymore. We're no longer waiting for a gate to open. We are building our own gates, our own tables. And as I said, what a creative entrepreneur is that person that is controlling their own destiny. Just like anybody, whether you are creating your own t-shirts or you're building websites, you're out there getting visible, doing what you need to do, and you may not know how to do it. But my friend, it's out there. The information is out there for you to find if you really want to do it, but you have to do the work. You know, I'm a very spiritual person, and it's not something I want to talk about a lot because it triggers people, but there are stories that you can talk about in Christianity where they talk about Jacob and they talk about other names from the Bible, and they talk about how hard it is to work to gain what you need to gain, to achieve what you need to achieve. I bring that up because this is not new. We didn't just start talking about how you have to work hard. It wasn't just grandpa and grandma that says, you got to work hard to get where you need to get, son, daughter, you got to work hard. You got to work hard. And it's hard today because we have influencers that make it look easy. And as much as they make it look easy, being on TikTok and being on Instagram and doing their thing, being on YouTube, it is not easy. They just make it look easy. You got to work hard to be out there. So, you know, you have to be able to take your craft seriously enough to build around it, to protect it, to package it, to show up for it like a CEO shows up for their company, because you are your own brand. You are your own person. And even if your desk is a kitchen table and your calendar looks chaotic and the only person who can read it is you, and you got sticky notes and Post-it notes and highlighters all over the place, it doesn't matter, because it's your chaotic calendar and it's your kitchen table that's the office. I have a little desk that's pushed off to the side. My dining room is over there. My living room is behind me. And I have this little corner of my home that my family gives me to create. And that's where I record. That's where I write. That's where I meet people. You are a creative entrepreneur. Not because you sell something, because you believe your creativity has value. All right, so in this next segment here, we're going to talk about some observations and tips. So I'm going to offer you some things that have helped me make that shift, and maybe they'll help you too. So I started off earlier talking about how I came from a business world, and I did. I came from a business world. I was very successful. Life shifted for me, and I pivoted, and I decided that I wanted to pursue my life dream of being a writer. I had to make some changes in how I processed, because for me, writing was a hobby, and I didn't have the same rules around it that I had around other business processes, which is kind of funny, right? A business is a business, but that's a subject for another conversation. So let me give you my tips and my observations. You don't have to worry about writing them down unless you want to, because you can come back and listen to this as much as you want. So the first one I'm going to give you is, stop waiting for clarity. That's the hardest part, right? Stop waiting for somebody to point at you and say, you're ready. It's time. Like the King Arthur, he's got Excalibur and he's going to knight you and he's going to say, you may now begin. Stop waiting for that. Start your structure today. I believe in creating maps and plans. You don't have to build out a full engine. You don't have to sit down and, go online and Google a business structure and do all of that. You can create a very simple manifesto that just speaks to what you want. Where do you see yourself? Like, I write fantasy and horror and sci-fi. One of the little fantasies I have in my mind is one day one of my stories is going to be a thing and I'll be at Comic-Con at a writer's panel. Yeah, that'd be cool, right? What does it look like to be that person? How do I get there? What does she sound like? These are the things that you think about. It's like, who am I? If this were happening today, what does she look like? Okay? What does she sound like? What does she feel like? You are a marketing department developing the brand that is you. And we can talk about branding. I have some friends. I know a lot about branding, personal branding. I have some friends. Maybe I'll bring somebody on to talk about that. That might be helpful. Give me a comment down below if you think that would be something that would be interesting to you. I would love to help you with that. But you don't need the perfect plan. You just need a plan that gets you moving. You just need to get up every day focused on the end game that's going to get you where you need to go, even if you don't know what that end game is. Because I'm going to tell you something, not a lot of people know. You hear about these famous people that tell these stories like, I knew this was going to happen and I had a plan and I was going to do this. And you're going to say the same thing when you're out there and you've made it. But until you've made it, we're all in the same boat, just kind of figuring out how to make it happen. So don't stress out on that. Please don't. And about the brand is just your truth said with clarity. It's who you are. It's not complicated. Who are you? And why are you that way? Are you sweet and giggly? I have a friend of mine who's just an absolute doll. She's adorable and she's giggly and she just lights up the room when you talk to her. I love talking to her when I just need a little drop of happiness. So, I always tell her, when you figure out your brand as a writer, please don't lose your heart, because that's the part that everybody's going to love to engage with. So it's not a slick marketing thing. It's just who you are, what you care about, why you create what you create, what motivates you, and what do you want to be? What are the things you love about yourself? And I use the term love because you should love things about yourself. Because if you don't, that right there is part of your challenge. We all have areas of opportunity, areas of our person that we wish we could do this differently, or we wish we weren't like that, or we wish we would be more like this. But at the core, you should absolutely love yourself. Not for nothing other than you are an amazing person and you deserve to be loved by you. Don't worry about what other people feel about you in this moment. This moment is for you. Okay? And then, the next thing I have for you is you don't have to be everywhere, but you do have to show up somewhere. Pick a thing, pick a platform, own it, and grow it. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about everything. Do you want to be an influencer? Do you want to use social media to support you? You don't have to start off on every platform. Pick a platform that feels like it's something that you can manage, because if you're just building, you're not going to have time to grow your social media and grow your YouTube channel and grow your stories and build your website. You're not going to have time to do everything all at once. So you're going to have to pick a team and stay with that and grow that. If it's your writing, grow your writing. Pick a social media. Maybe you want to go with Instagram, or maybe you want to go with YouTube, or maybe you want to go with TikTok, whatever works for you, because there's an amount of work that goes into it. And grow that platform. Grow your voice so that you're comfortable with it, so that you start to kind of sit in that chair and you start moving around until you're comfortable. Then as you grow, you can grow from there. Once you get your Instagram going, then you can, slide over to TikTok. You got to learn how to do it. You're going to watch other people. You're going to talk to peers and talk to maybe instructors if you're a student, or maybe even take a workshop or two. Whatever you need to do to support how you feel in your comfort and how you want to be present in your process. The next thing I have for you is about boundaries. Woo! Boy, howdy, boundaries. Boundaries are a really important business tool. Your time is not infinite. Your energy is not free. You must protect yourself or you will burn out. You will take this thing that you love so much and turn it into tasks. And if you turn it into tasks as a creative, your creative juice will shut down and you will burn out. Don't give so much of yourself that you bleed dry on the pavement and there's nothing left to give. Learn to set boundaries. I'm not going to say learn to say no. In business, that's what we say. Learn to say no. As a creative, no is like a four-letter word. It's not fun to say no, but you can set boundaries without saying no. Set boundaries with yourself and set boundaries with others so that your time is not just burned to a crisp. It's important. Treat yourself like a professional, my friend. Treat yourself like a professional, even if no one else has yet. I read this article years and years ago, and someone was interviewing. Ooh, it's getting late. Having a hard time talking. Someone was interviewing Anthony Robbins. I love Tony Robbins. He's one of my favorite inspirational coaches. He's been around for a very long time. And I've taken workshops with him. You know, I really do like him. And one of the things he said was, if you create a space for yourself where you're engaging with your life, like you're already there. Now, I don't mean go spend all your money on Gucci and taking first class trips all over the place. That's not what I mean. Because if you're not where you can afford that, that's definitely not what you should be doing. This is about treating yourself like a professional, setting times. If you're like me and you work from home, getting up and getting ready and setting a time. I start my work day around 8:30 in the morning, and I end my work day around 5 or 6, and then I write for my own personal joy after that, unless I have deadlines or anything to work on. I don't let people invade in my process when I'm working on stuff. And if you do have personal projects, if you're not getting paid for projects yet, manage your personal projects like you're getting paid for them. Set timelines, set deadlines, milestones. And when people come in and they say, hey, can you do this for me? Hey, can you do that for me? If they're paying you, then yes, they can encroach in your schedule. But if they're not, you got to get your stuff finished, right? So make sure you give yourself time to get your stuff finished, because professionals don't let people interfere with their craft. And this industry is changing fast, super, super fast. You can be early to the line here. You can lead yourself, you can lead groups, but you have to believe. And if you don't believe in your craft, it's going to be hard for you to get out there. And believing in your craft means giving yourself time for your craft. That was a good one. So the next one I have for you is finish what you start. As a creative entrepreneur, I think I shared earlier, I said I was going to come back to this. I shared earlier that we go through this process, right, of having to manage all the crazy ideas that come to our mind. And we have them. Like I said, I write sci-fi and horror. The stuff that's flying through my head on any given Sunday is absolutely crazy, and it's fabulous. And I love every drop of it. And I want to write it all down. And I have a joke I tell my husband where it's like, I don't know if I'll be on this planet long enough to get every story on paper that I have flying through my head. And sometimes when I'm writing, something I write in one story triggers the other story to start talking again, or another idea. So on top of having creative stories to tell, I also have business ideas associated with these stories. Like, hey, this will make a great television show. Or how can I take this and turn it into a blah, blah, blah. Or, ooh, I should run a this at a blah, blah, blah. And now my mind is all over the place. And because I have a background in creating structure and organizing processes, I want to sit down and organize it. I want to sit down and set it up. I want to sit down and do all the nerdy, geeky things that are associated with creating this thing that just came to my mind. But in the meantime, I was writing something. And so on the paper, whether I'm writing a story or I'm in final draft because I'm writing a script, this poor little story is calling to me like, hey, Mystic, come finish this story. We're almost done. And I'm over here mapping out whatever silly, wonderful, fabulous idea that's going on in my head today. There's only one person that could stop me from doing that. And that's me. Okay? And what you need to do, if you could see my workspace, you would probably think, oh, she's OCD or something, because I have all this stuff set up in my process around managing when the ideas come up. I have notepads, I have a whiteboard, I have sticky notes, I have highlighters, I have a tablet. And when another idea comes, I stop and I write stuff down. I write bullet points, I write information down, so when I come back to that, I'm not just like, oh God, where's that red card? What was it doing? I know, what was that red card doing? I write it down and I put it off to a side. I have a notebook where I keep all my ideas pending and I put it in there and then I go back and look at it. I know that sounds like a lot of work for some people, but that's how I don't lose track of the ideas that I have. Some of my ideas are creative, but some of my ideas are business. And there's a lot going on in there. A lot. And for you, it's the same. There's a lot. So you've got to organize, but it makes no sense. It really does. I want you to step back for a second, take a deep breath. I'm leaning in real close to the mic here. Hopefully it's not too loud. But I want to say to you, it makes no sense to start a new project before you finish the other one. And this is why. There's this saying, a jack of all trades is pretty good at everything, but not really great at anything. You don't get greatness from coming up with ideas that you never finish. Finish what you start. It will only build that muscle. For those of you that are into working out, building muscle doesn't come. You don't go to the gym and then lift, some weights and then wake up the next morning and bam, you're Henry Cavill. It doesn't work that way. You have to put time in, right? You have to work out. You have to put some discipline in. And muscle takes care. It takes eating strategies. It takes workout strategies. It's a complicated process. Building your creative muscle is the same. And if you train your system to never finishing, you will get really good at never finishing. And there's nothing harder on the ego of a creative than never being able to complete what you start. You'll start to feel defeated. You'll start to feel untalented. You'll start to feel all kind of words and adjectives that we really don't want to talk about. And that's not how I want you to feel. Mystic wants you to feel fantastic about everything that you do. So start with things that you can handle. Set goals. Write some things down. Okay? So that you can support what you're doing the way you want to do it. And all of that is important. So why did I talk about this today? I don't know. I just finished, as I said, a couple of really intense projects where I was deeply engaged in coaching and working with some artists, some creatives that were building stories and building pitches to production companies. And it was a wonderful experience. I got to meet some really great people, and I'm very excited about where they're going. And with each of them, I ran into kind of wrestling through the same things we all wrestle through. Can I do this? I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm ready. All the things that we tell each other. And so I want you to know that, if you've ever said, I'm too creative to be organized. If you've ever said, I don't think like a business person. Or if you've ever said, I just want to write and not worry about the rest. Even if you've said, I have great ideas, but I don't know what to do with them. I need somebody else to help me with this. Man, I hear you. But I'm here to lovingly challenge you on that. Because your dream deserves a structure, right? Your talent deserves protection. Your work deserves to live. Not just stay stuck in your head or on a folder or on a notepad on your desk. You are not to anything. You're exactly what the future of creativity looks like. You. Right there. So take a deep breath. Own your art and build something powerful around it. You are your brand. You are your product. You are your magic. And, I get that for some of you, this is like heavy lifting, because just the thought of organizing for many people is tough. And some of us, this is our superpower. It is easier for me to sit down and plan what I'm supposed to do than it is to sit down and do it. Because structure is easier for me than creation, believe it or not. And it just depends on, as I said, what your superpower is. But you don't want to be afraid. I do workshops sometimes, and I invite you. I will let everybody know when my next set of workshops is coming. So I'm kind of thinking about doing one as we enter into the summer months to take people through a process of opening up to creation. I would love to be a part of your process. So you can email me. I'll have all my contact information in the description. I would love to hear from you. If you have questions, I answer questions once a month, and I'm happy to take your question, because if you have a question, other people have a question. You are not alone. That is my biggest message. If I had a nickel, a nice little shiny nickel, for every creative person that told me my mind operates different, I'm more sensitive than other people. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm ready. If I had a nickel for every person that said those things and more, I'd probably be a millionaire right now. You are not alone. We are the same, you and I. How are we the same? We are creative entrepreneurs. That's how we're the same. So I thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful. It helped me just getting it off my chest. I wish somebody had sat me down and had this little conversation with me when I started my journey. It would have changed the stress. It would have changed the confusion. And I'm happy if this helped you at all. And I'm here if you need more conversations. Let me know what else you want me to talk about. So if this resonates with you, please share it with somebody walking the creative path like you. Share the link with them. Tell them about my podcast. And remember, you don't have to choose between being creative and being successful. You don't. You're already both. It is not about choosing which one. It's about choosing for you. And I think that's the perfect place to end. Thank you so much for listening. This is Mystic from Mystic Scribe Podcast, and you have been listening to Being a Writer. Thanks for dropping by. Bye-bye.